What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Knoxville Nights. I am Josh Gerlach. I am joined by Blake Walker and Kade Higday. We are here to discuss the World of Outlaws weekend that was last night. As we record this, Rico Abreu took home the victory over Larson. We're going to run through everything that happened last night, and then on the back half, we will catch up with Kaleb Johnson, drives the TEAM DGRD 6K for Dennis Caney. First, make sure if you're watching this on YouTube, hit subscribe and hit the like button. That'll help us out a lot. And then follow us on your favorite podcast app. We drop new episodes every Monday during the racing season. And we're also at Knoxville Nights on Facebook and Instagram, and Knoxville Nights with no O on Twitter and X. Well, let's get into it. Kade, we unfortunately have a very quick weekend update from you. You guys, you were teaming up with Mike Van Der Ecken this year in the 410 for practice night, and that was cut short. What happened?
Yeah, cut very short. The first session we went out, we had a fuel pump issue. Kind of chased that around for a while, and then finally got that figured out and went out, and it was going to be like one of the last sessions, and broke a valve guide, which it's an easy fix. We could have tried to replace it and come back for the weekend, but the thing is, we don't know if it tagged the valve, and what could be $1,000 fix if it didn't, and we fix it and go run it. Now you're talking 10 or 15 grand. So I feel like it was a wise decision just to say no for the weekend, and luckily Friday got canceled anyway for us. Still missed out on the 200 from Saturday, but obviously a bad way to start the year with that thing, but we'll get it fixed up, and I think his other motor should be done this week too. So excited to hopefully get going with that thing.
Yeah, and I assume, hopefully, weather permitting, you'll be at practice night, probably shaking it down again on Friday before going out for Saturday. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Well, unfortunately, hopefully we have much longer Kade Higday recaps moving forward here, but I guess, Blake, if you want to kick us off with our World of Outlaws, we only got one of the two shows in, thanks to Mother Nature, but we did get one, which was the first time in a long time in April.
Yeah, Friday night was tough. I mean, we had the mist come in, which was not forecasted all week long, which really stunk. It was just a chance of rain. There was a 20% chance of rain. Everybody gets to the track, it's misting. Were you there, Josh? Were you there in the afternoon?
Yeah.
Kade, were you outside? Were you outside to be able to tell? Because there's no way we could have raced. Like, in general, I know it stopped misting like 30 minutes after we called it. It was cold. There was no way we could have raced. There was water on the track. They watered the track a little bit too extra. From your perspective, Josh, I assume you agree. There was just no way we could have gotten Friday night in.
I agree. I mean, the weather was only going to get colder. I left. I live in Bondurant, so I left Bondurant with the mist falling, and it did not fall the whole time I drove to Knoxville. I was there for about 10 minutes, and then it just never stopped again for probably an hour and a half that I was there before they called it. And the consensus that I heard from asking a few different drivers was, yes, like you said, it wouldn't be smart to race in those conditions. Kade, I don't know if you've ever had the fortune to race in mist or rain. I would assume it probably makes it a little tough to see when water is falling on your visor and in between your tear-offs potentially, like David Gravel was talking about.
Yeah, it's actually happened a couple times at Knoxville, and that's scary. You're going really fast there, and when you got water up in between your tear-offs, you can't really see at all. You're just kind of like, I relate it to in driver's ed, they give you the drunk goggles and like have you fake drive a car, that's kind of what it's like. You're just kind of like picking out objects, and it's scary and it's really dangerous. So, like you said though, Blake, the rain quit like 30 minutes after they canceled, but how long can we wait? You know what I mean? And with it being cold, I feel like it was really the right call.
Cold and humid too. I think the humidity was like 80 to 90%. I know that they watered it. People can see that. You have to be ready for the next night too. So you have to prepare for all of that. I just, even if it would have stopped misting and stuff, I just wonder what the track would have been like. It probably would have been tough to get moisture out of the track. And then you're talking about a really fast racetrack with potential more moisture in the air. They made the right call, in my opinion.
In a way, Kade, maybe simplify. Also, cold ain't good on the engines either.
No.
And kind of describe that a little bit for people that don't know. I mean, yes, could we race in the cold? Yeah, but engines and engine builders especially do not like that. Kind of explain what the cold does to those engines.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to have you find a stat on like a certain temperature range and how many engines blow up in that night.
Yeah.
We're spending outrageous money on these things. So you're talking anywhere from 60 to 70 grand for a new one. So any chance we can avoid blowing them up just for fun, I feel like it's a good idea. So yeah, quote unquote fun. Yeah, it's hard on equipment, and if you have a one lane hammer down racetrack, like, I mean, we very easily could have had, there's not a lot of passing, and you kind of got to do some stupid stuff to even pass race cars in those kind of conditions. So definitely a good call, in my opinion. Just live to race another day.
So Friday night missed it out. Saturday was good for April. I think that was about as good as you can get. I don't know if it quite got to 60, but with the sun out, it was really nice there. And then once the sun went behind the clouds, it did cool down just a little bit, but got the whole night in, didn't have to hurry. We were done almost right before 10 o'clock. We started at 6 o'clock. We have everything here on our show sheet of just kind of everything that happened. I don't think we're going to miss anything. So we'll just start with Josh's first bullet point. We're kind of going to go everywhere, but if you're going to listen to a podcast, you're going to listen to the whole thing through. You're not just going to jump around. We'll touch everything, including the Brad and Tasker incident and a couple more things. We'll start with Donnie Schatz. He was one of the headliners that I had coming into the night. Ford engine, switches to Chevy, had won races in a Ford at Knoxville Raceway. And you're like, oh, Donnie's got a Chevy. He's going to be fast. Donnie was not fast. Qualifying killed him. He was not fast in qualifying. I think when he qualified, at the time he got to 22nd. I believe he was in the second group. No, he was in the first group because he was in the first non-qualifier. Just wasn't fast. And we saw the track drop off. You'll hear Kaleb Johnson talk about it when we interview him later, but he talks about how the track just fell off a cliff. And it did. I thought for a second we might get to the 14.9s, but we stayed about 15.1 was the fastest lap. Donnie did not qualify well. He goes to the non-qualifier for his second straight race, technically, at Knoxville. He was in the non-qualifier at the Hard Knocks night, but there was no car to not make scales to save him this time.
Well, and also too, Blake, to add to that, the not the most recent, but the Outlaw race before that, he was also in the non-qualifier in the Outlaw weekend from June last year too.
Just not great. Didn't even get out of the non-qualifier. Got to the B main, didn't get out of the B main, so they take the provisional, which I believe is his first of the year. Everybody knew once he didn't make it, you're like, okay, the 15's taking a provisional. Gets caught up in Parker Price Miller's crash, where we talked about the berm. You talk about the berm reaching out and grabbing somebody. Parker just got by the berm and spun him out. Got a lucky caution because they couldn't fix it in one. Macedo spins. We'll talk about that contact a little later. Still finishes 17th. I mean, that's considering all the things that happened, that's pretty good. But Donnie is not Donnie right now, and it kind of stinks to see, especially at Knoxville. So, I mean, either of you can jump in, but something's off. Something's not right with Donnie Schatz right now.
And I would take a little bit different. I would say that Donnie is still Donnie because we still see flashes of it.
There is.
What is still different from when Donnie was Donnie? The guy that was on the victory lane podium was wrenching on his car when he was on his heater. And Donnie Schatz can still wheel a race car, and we've seen that over the years. He won a nationals with the Ford in it. And I think that, and I think that Kade, you could probably speak to this too. Your race car's got to be good. You've got to be good as a driver, but you've got to have guys that are making calls and stuff on the car that can help you throughout a night. And I feel like that's where we've seen Donnie struggle a lot is if they get off to a slow start, they've dug such a big hole. It's really hard, especially with the Outlaw format the way it is. You just, like last night, he went 28th to 17th, but I think when you take a provisional, that really messes with your points, or you don't get points for the Outlaws. So that's really just a terrible night from a season perspective. And I don't think the splitting of him and Ricky Warner is talked about enough. You hear about the Ford stuff a lot, but I think that the churn that they've had with the crew, and I think they moved on from Scuba after last year too. I think there's just some stuff going on, at TSR. And like I said, I think last week, the sport's in a really good spot when Donnie Schatz is winning and running up front. And I hope that they can get it figured out, because he still has shown that he has a lot left in the tank.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter where people are saying that
he's washed.
Yeah.
Not even that, but it's just like, man, we should not have dogged the Ford so hard.
Looking at you, Braden McMahon.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say what's going on. I mean, anytime you make that many changes kind of back to back to back, it's hard to put a finger on what it is. Obviously, we know the driver's not really the issue there.
Yeah.
Donnie's one of the best. So I don't know. Hopefully they get it figured out, because I'm ready to see Donnie get back in Donnie fashion.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree. It was rough night for the 15, still 17th, but like you said, the points battle, obviously, I think not mathematically out, but won't be seen in the championship out of Donnie this year. We'll go to Carson Macedo, who came into the week second in points, and a lot of people circled Knoxville as the big track. I mean, Carson had won there before a couple times. He's been very fast, coming off the win at I-55. Didn't qualify well. I think the draw hurt him a little bit. He was a little bit later in the running order, but just not great speed. He was like 24th on his first lap, a little bit better on the second, and he ends up 27th. He broke the front end on a restart with Spencer Baston and his brother Cole Macedo going 3 wide. In my opinion, got lucky. I mean, he spun right in front of the field, and credit to the rest of the field for not hitting him. I can't believe he didn't get more damage, but not good for Carson Macedo. Now quite behind the 8 ball here in points, drops to 3rd, and just off night. I mean, and Kade, it's one of those things where you got to have some luck. I mean, the draw is huge. We saw a lot of guys. Spencer Baston, was on the other end of that. He got a great draw, good qualifying lap, put himself in the feature after a year that hasn't been great. But Carson didn't have good luck, and then didn't have good luck on a restart. And by then, you're so far back, you just can't make that up.
Yeah, it's impossible, especially with the Outlaw caliber and 65 race cars. If you even miss your mark a little bit, or you go out 5 cars too late in qualifying, you're buried already right from the get-go. So to dig out of that hole is almost impossible. It takes the luck that Donnie had where somebody forgets to go to the scales. But yeah, that's a very hopeless feeling too, when you're spinning out in front of the entire field and you're out of control. Like nothing, you can't do anything. You're just really hoping everybody sees you and doesn't drive clear through you. But yeah, obviously a terrible night for them. They obviously did not want that to go that way, but that's racing. Stuff happens, and I'm sure they'll rebound here shortly.
And I was just going to say quick, Blake, we're kind of starting off with the bad, and, Donnie struggling, Carson struggling. You go back and look at the last now 3 Outlaw features with Saturday night, and then last year, Carson finished 21st and 16th last year too, and they struggled, I believe, if I remember correctly, struggled qualifying and stuff there too. And that's another one. You got a multi-time nationals winning crew chief with Philip Dietz. That car is great. Carson's obviously a great driver. We allude to it a little bit later about the track surface with Kaleb in April, and it's just, man, it's strange to see those guys struggle like that.
Well, and I know probably tough mentally, because he gets here early on Thursday. Dennis Albaugh Sweet Tower opens up. I mean, that's a big deal. The 2 cars are out front. Sure. He's got Randall's car, and then he's got Carson Macedo's, and that it's synonymous at this point with Carson Macedo. It's Albaugh your alternative. And I know that probably aided him not to be able to have that moment or to have a good run for the Sweets and just the opening of it all. I hope some cameraman, there was a cameraman sitting in turn 2, and there was a point in the B main where Macedo was side by side with Randall in turn 2. I'm going to pray somebody got a picture with the Sweet Tower in the background, because I think that would be really cool. Yeah, just not Macedo's week. and ground has to be made up because, gravel didn't really miss a beat. I mean, he finished outside the top 5, second in the last 3 races. Watch out.
Terrible
even
stretch.
Though I think it was a 7th last week and a 6th this week. But, just not Carson Macedo's week. Let's get to a couple good things. Let's talk heat races. We'll start with Larson and Brian Brown. This was so cool. Tony and I were like fist pumping in the booth. It was so cool because you have the greatest sprint car driver currently versus what many in Knoxville say is their favorite guy. Like, he is one of Knoxville's favorite. And the Knoxville man held him off. And he said he made that 21 Casey's machine wide as ever. And he did. From your guys' perspective, I mean, just insane sliders. I think Brownie used every trick in the book and just to beat Larson out to make it to a dash.
Yeah, I think the board was his best friend right there. Yeah. You could see him, he's kind of thinking about running the top in 3 and 4, and then he saw the run that Larson was getting, so you watch him just cut across the racetrack. And sometimes I wish we didn't have the board, but as a driver, it is nice to have.
I'm sure it is. And Blake, you were not the only ones that were fist pumping. Oh, I got to watch it. It was pretty cool. Dave Reef was in town last week or last night, so he was up in the center tower, and he was getting all animated and stuff too. So, I mean, it's really cool when you could see guys, and I think a lot of the guys in the midgets could probably learn a thing or two. Those guys, if they touched, it was barely on 2 to go or whatever it was.
They caught wheels going into 1 just slightly, and it sent either Brownie or Larson wide, and I was like, oh, gosh.
Yeah, Larson kind of pinched him and ran him up on the berm, but that goes to show, like, you don't have to, the slide or die stuff, you can race really hard and not have to touch guys.
And I told Tony right when that happened, I was like, well, Larson's racing Brown, how Brown would race Larson. Because, Brownie had moments last year, and he owned up to it once that it was like he threw sliders that just didn't work. I mean, he got into people, and Larson throws haymakers all the time. I mean, it's just part of who they are. They're aggressive, and you're like, oh my gosh, these are 2 very identical ways that these guys race, and they're just going at each other. And thinking about the night in general, what if Larson won or got that? What if he got that extra spot? Just 1 spot was all he needed in the feature. We'll talk about the feature race in a little bit, but I mean, Brian Brown might have saved the crowd from a Larson victory. You just never know. But, what an awesome heat race. Another heat race that did not go so well for one of our local guys, and actually, was it the same heat race? No, it wasn't the same heat race because they interviewed Brown. Tasker Phillips gets caught with with Brad Sweet on the back straightaway and takes a wild ride down the back straightaway. That thing caught the wind, and then it just kind of flipped over and over, ripped the top wing off. Tasker Phillips is able to get out. If you didn't watch the replay, it's on Dirt Vision. Brad is on the top. Brad Sweet's on the top of the racetrack coming off for turn 2. Tasker's on the bottom. Tasker's got a little bit of a run, and Sweet, kind of angling for turn 3, just comes right down and chops him, and that's what sends Tasker going flying. The quotes that I have from this, so Tasker gets out of the car, Connor Wade interviews him, and Tasker says, quote, "For once I thought I was actually holding my line, and then one of the best in the country, I feel like he shot down the track for no reason, and I could be wrong." So that's just Tasker being Tasker. He didn't, that's Tasker. I mean, that's how it is, and he was mad. I mean, you could just tell he was mad. And then Brad comes in for the heat race interview, and Brad says, quote, "Yeah, I think he has the right to be frustrated. I got tight on 2 and tried to get down there, and I think he had a better run than I thought he did. My fault. I feel bad for him and his team. Hate that we took him out, and we're trying to get our car better so we don't cross lanes into people. Sorry about that." And if you watched it, Brad was it wasn't sarcastic, but it didn't feel sincere in a way. And it felt like one of those moments where you're like, he just said, sorry, chopped you. And all the Twitter comments go back to James McFadden. And that's all people were saying. They're like, well, I guess he moved on from James McFadden, but
I didn't have a choice.
James ain't here anymore. So from your perspective, Kade, you see it all the time. Guys will chop guys. They close the door, as we say up in the broadcast booth going into the corner. But Brad came down on the straightaway, and he talked about getting tight off turn 2 up against the wall. What do you think? I mean, he came down.
Oh, for sure. 120%.
Yeah. I mean, give everybody a perspective. What happened?
Brad pretty much said it exactly how it happened. He got tight and was trying to shut the door on him, and Tasker just got a huge run, and I wasn't expecting that big of a run out of him. And next thing you know, he's just pirouetting through the air, and it's like, oh, that was not good. That was one of the scarier crashes I've seen there in a long time.
Going back in slow motion, it was bad.
Yeah, glad he was able to get out of that and still have his normal kind of knockoff smart ass remark about it. That's just, like you said, that's just Tasker. I feel like he's got to be the nicest guy in the world for saying what he said and not throwing him completely under the bus. A lot of people would have been a lot more pissed off about that. And Tasker just kind of took it on the chin and moved on from it. But yeah, that was scary to see.
And I don't think he would mind me saying this either, but I was talking to him earlier in the night before all that happened, and he said he was out in the fields until 3 a.m. that morning. So it's like you're already probably pretty exhausted from doing your day job, and you get half a lap of your heat race in your first 410 race at Knoxville, and like that, it was not a good look for Brad. And like you guys have said, it was really good to be able to go down there and check on him and see that he was Tasker. even after that happened. So he did say they're going to be back ready to go next week, though, which is besides him being okay is important, because it's good for Knoxville when Tasker Phillips is out there ripping.
Absolutely.
Right. And I got nothing against Brad Sweet. I mean, I think he is one of the best. I love what he's done with High Limit. It's just in that moment you're like, dang, dude. I mean, and it's weird because it's like, would I feel the same if he chopped another High Limit or another Outlaw driver? Maybe not, but it's because we have that connection with Tasker, and he's a local guy. You're just like, man, and he had such a good qualifying effort. Wasn't he top 10 in qualifying? Like the night was off to a good start for Tasker, and it's just like half a lap, and he just gets chopped by the 5-time World of Outlaws champion. And you're like, man, I mean, just bad break, but it wasn't a great look by any means.
No. And that happened so fast too, right, Kade? Like, I mean, Tasker clearly had nothing that he could do. I think he said he basically just shut his eyes, and what can you do? Just hold on at that point?
Yeah, by the time he even knew that he was going to get hit, the right front was already off the race car. That was just terrible timing.
Yeah.
Rough. We'll stick with a heat race here. Dason Persley blows his tire going into turn 1 and hard into the outside wall. That is the second time in the last couple of years that Avani Windows and Doors Pella Motors or Pella Windows car has crashed. I remember Justin Peck destroyed it on the front stretch in turn 4. I was standing like just over past the fence, and I was looking the wrong way, and I heard this boom. I thought it was going to get crushed. Like that thing was flying. We were not able to stand that close to the fence the rest of the week, but that was really tough wreck for Dason Persley. I assume you guys have seen the photo. I don't know who took the picture. Someone has a perfect photo in turn 1 of when the tire blew. It looks like he's just going into the corner, but the left rear is just gone.
It's a great shot. I'm guessing that it was Daryl Turford from the Drivers Project, because I did see him down there with his camera. I think you posted it, Blake. Like that is probably going to be the shot of the year, because I mean, just incredible timing. It's a great photo, and like kind of like you said with the Peck deal, I heard a boom, and then the next thing I know, I just look over and he's up against the fence, and could have been a lot worse.
The crowd was loud. I mean, like you could just hear the crowd like awe at the moment. The tire carcass landed on Highway 14. That thing flew. It literally landed right in front of O'Reilly Auto Parts, and I don't know who did it, because we were looking at it. Some random dude just driving on the street stops, picks it up, puts it in his car, and drives away. And we're
I
like,
love Knoxville.
You wonder if he even like he probably knew what it was, but you're like, as if that hit a car. I don't know, but
worse things have made it out there.
Yeah. I mean,
fuel tanks
car has landed on Highway 14.
Cars.
Yeah, insurance don't cover that.
No.
But you know, Kade going into turn 1, it's dangerous already as it is. You're flying. That left rear goes. I mean, obviously you can't do much, but that's a feeling. I mean, he's lucky he didn't fully take off, but tire blows in sprint car racing, they are one of the most dangerous things, would you say?
Absolutely. And he's really lucky, because I saw it rip that left arm guard like clear off the car. It was gone. So he's lucky he kind of had that shield to start with. Because when that thing blows, that rubber's just going wherever the hell it wants to.
People have had their arms broken before. I remember in the past. It's no joke.
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to never have one blow, but yeah, anytime a left rear blows, especially at Knoxville, you're probably going to take a ride.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're up against the wall, it's a little bit different, but the fact he was on the bottom, I mean, that's a long way to travel off the racetrack. Just a tough break for days, and he is going to be good. I mean, he is one of the next up and coming guys. He won the USAC race here last year. Won a USAC race already this year, did he not, Josh? I'm pretty sure he's gone to victory
that or midget, right?
This year. Yeah, I think so. So he's fun to watch. It's just a tough break for that 13 crew that just has not had good luck at Knoxville in general. All right, so that's our heat races. Let's talk about some of the local guys. Austin McCarl and Carson McCarl. Brian Brown makes the show. Let's start with Austin. Do you have the results pulled up, Josh, to be able to? I'll give you a second to pull those up. Austin McCarl, really the only one that goes forward in the feature.
He was.
Austin's going to be set this year, guys. I think I want to see him win an Outlaw show so bad, and I think, or a high limit show. He's got himself in a good spot. I think qualifying wasn't quite what he wanted. I think he was pretty slower in qualifying than I think we thought he would. But he's got that thing humming this year to start the year, and I'm curious if he'll try to run full-time points again, because I think he could win it all again.
He actually did pretty decent in qualifying. In Group B, he was 8th, so did put a pretty decent time down. And I mentioned it last week, that they have got something going with that program. They look different outside of Knoxville than we've seen in years past. And you did mention that he went +4 from where'd he go 12th to 8th in the feature. Unfortunately for our local guys, I think everybody else either was even or did go backwards. But I'm right there with you. Whether it's at Knoxville or somewhere else, they just feel like they're knocking on the door of getting an Outlaw or high limit win. We'll see if he makes it to every weekly show here this year.
I know he said, I think 75% was about what they were thinking. Not going to be able to make it to every show, obviously, because they'll go to the Kings of Royal and whatnot, but try. Yeah.
Yeah, he will definitely be a contender. We'll get to that a little bit later for our championship picks, but definitely one to watch out for whenever he's at Knoxville this year.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of their outside of Knoxville successes come from having Scotty Martin around. That guy is one of the best. I mean, he kind of went out to Cali and was working with some lower teams, and then when I saw that Austin had hired him, I was like, oh boy, here we go. Because if you listen to almost any Austin McCarl interview and he runs like second or third, he always blames it on himself as the mechanic. He doesn't blame it on himself as the driver. He says, I didn't mechanic that well. And to have Scotty in his corner is going to be huge for him, I think.
Yeah.
Similar to Logan Schuchart in a way, because I know Logan there for I don't know if it was most of his career, the whole career. From what I've heard, did not have a crew chief, and believe they picked one up this year. And we saw what he did last night or Saturday night at Knoxville, and at I-55 as well.
Absolutely. Carson McCarl makes it to his first ever World of Outlaws Toyota Dash. Didn't draw great. I think he drew the 8 or the 6 or something like that near the back. The 2 was available, and I was like, man, if he gets the 2 and can get to clean air, I think he might have something. Kind of draws the back. He drops a lot. I think he finished 18th is where he ended up finishing, but still a good run for Carson. I think they should be happy with that, especially going into the season. We'll talk about our championship picks again, but Carson, he gets that monkey off his back, gets his first 410 win last year, gaining confidence, would you say, Kade, just ever so slightly here?
Yeah, absolutely. He's getting better every time he hits the racetrack here. And I mean, a lot of people see it, but I feel like he's kind of like getting sneaky good. Yeah, I look for him to have a huge year here.
Brian Brown, we talked about him. Heat race went really well. Just didn't really have it there in the dash, and then the feature went a little bit backwards. I think a lot of people thought he was going to put a couple more things together, just didn't quite go his way. Riley Goodnow. Shout out Riley Goodnow. Really good night for Goodnow. I think qualifying really helped him. Great start for him. Sawyer Phillips, unfortunately, he takes the provisional, which a Knoxville provisional, which I forgot we even did. But Sawyer Phillips, unfortunately, doesn't make a lap, has a fuel line leakage. JJ Hickle couldn't ask for a better start, in my opinion, for that 2M team. I don't know about you guys, but I am excited to watch him this year because I think it's setting up for explosive summer for him.
Yeah, and I know that I talked to Matt a little bit in the infield there, and he said that it wasn't quite comfortable at the beginning of the night, but you could tell as the night went on, Matt knows what he's doing around there. He's a championship driver himself, and we've seen what he can do with many drivers in that car. Great dudes all around as well, and give those guys a few weeks to feel each other out, get some laps together. I agree with you guys that they will be ones to watch for sure.
Yeah, and I kind of talked to JJ last night also, and he said the same thing, just didn't start off that comfortable and then just kept working on it and got a little bit better every time they hit the racetrack. So, I mean, I'm sure it'll take him another week or two to get JJ completely comfortable to where he can do his job as we know he can.
Right. And then Kerry Madsen also made the feature. Good qualifying effort, really helped carry out. Same thing with Donnie Schatz. The sprint car landscape is better when Kerry Madsen's winning. And I think we just all hope for better luck for the 55 to, that pill draw was a good start. I don't think they were quite as fast as what they wanted in the feature, but Kerry will be a force to be reckoned with here at Knoxville once he just gets going again. I think you just got to get in a groove. I think he said it himself a couple weeks ago when he spun out on his own. I think might have been an I-55. I can't remember, but he just said he got to get in rhythm. He hasn't stopped winning. Won in Australia quite a bit over the winter. So, I mean, he's still got it. But definitely will be a guy to watch this summer.
Yeah, watching him run the fence is so fun, too.
Oh, I love it. It is so good. So good. Buddy Kofoid goes hard charger, 13 up. Good run for Buddy. I don't think many people think of Knoxville as Buddy's roundhouse. He's more of a bull ring kind of guy. He'll look forward to Huset's, as always, with the High Bank Nationals. Sheldon Hodenshield, Knoxville has not been his friend throughout his career. Good to see Sheldon with a good run, plus 11. But in terms of them for the high limit, or for Outlaws, excuse me, you put it here in the notes, Josh, got to start better. I mean, the qualifying efforts just hurt you. And if you're playing from behind all night, there's not really much you can do, especially at Knoxville.
I mean, we keep harping on it, but it's still the truth is that with that format, you have to get off to great starts. If you don't, it will make your life hell throughout the rest of the night. And, they like we saw on Saturday, they show that they can pass a lot of cars. Like we know that they're fast. We know they can drive really well, but with the discussion around dirty air and tires and all this stuff, like if you're starting 15th, 18th in the feature, it's really hard. It's really hard to go forward. Kade, you could probably talk about that, as a driver, what it's like when you have to try to get through half of the field or more. It's just, especially when it's a points race for the Outlaws too, and looking forward for the rest of the Outlaw season with the way David Gravel is running, nobody might be able to catch him. Who knows? But you've got to get in the dash, and you got to start here, and then putting it back into Knoxville for the Nationals and stuff. Yeah, they like I said, they show that they're fast and they can do it. It's all about getting those qualifying laps in and getting out of your heat race and starting up front.
Yeah, and like you said, if you don't qualify well, your night's going to be hell. And driving through the field, obviously, I've never done it in the Outlaw show. Be cool to do it sometime, but
just a chance.
yeah, just let me start the A. But yeah, even the 360 stuff. I mean, it's almost impossible to get past some of those cars. The competition is just so good, and the Outlaw level is obviously a lot more talented. And you look through the field, and the guys that are running 15th and 20th are guys that can win if the stars align, so you're passing really good race cars, and to pass that many cars and do what they did is really cool. Obviously would love to see them not have to start so far back and be able to start up front and contend for wins. But like you said, those 2 laps
kills you. All right, let's talk about the top 5 runners just a little bit. Aaron Reitzel, good run for him, led the first 8 laps. Caught lap traffic, and we were kind of talking about it off air, Kade, but, it's a tough one to swallow for Aaron. And I think a lot of people weren't surprised to see that speed that he's brought at high limit all season long. He shows up to Knoxville, and you're like, of course, of course he gets it. He was humble in that dash interview, and he's like, 65 cars, it's good to be here in the top 24 or whatever. And I'm like, Aaron, you've been so fast this year. I was like, I'd expect you to be top 10. But good run for Aaron Reitzel. Caught lap traffic though, Kade, and that caught him. I mean, and you said something about his tire might have tightened up just a little bit, sealed off. Just, it's tough. It's a whole other animal. If you get cautions every 5 laps and you'd be in clean air all night. That just didn't work out for Aaron.
Right, and he was kind of running a different line, and Larson ended up doing the same thing. Like in 1 and 2, he was running the top on entry and cutting across and hitting the moisture coming off. And you got to have a really good race car to be able to do that and be fast with it. So, yeah, him getting past wasn't the end of the world, I didn't think. And then they had that yellow, and it looked like his tire just sealed up. He wasn't able to cut across the racetrack like he was previous to that. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he's a little upset about it, having that good of a chance to win and having something like that happen. But yeah, I'll be glad when we get through this first weekend in Knoxville and he goes back to racing on the tour.
I believe it. And honestly, you know, it shouldn't shock anybody, but it seemed like anybody that got to third stalled out and had nothing for the 24 and the 57. Because Logan, I think he jumped out and maybe led a couple laps before Aaron got him.
I think Aaron took the lead on the first lap because Aaron had the top.
He did.
I think that was he got the runoff of 2. Tyler Courtney?
Courtney, Sunshine was just there. Like he was there the entire time. You know, never really threatened for the lead, but like that's another dark horse there, by the way. He
said he's coming back every off weekend. They get a chance in Victory Lane or somewhere. I think in the Dash or something. He said we're coming back every week. We have an off to come race Knoxville.
Defending 360 Nationals champion. That you know he showed that he could. And he had damage and stuff in that race too. Like he is one that that was a very quiet, good finisher there, and you know it kind of leads us into the top 2. What that was one hell of a race there at the very end. Not even talking about the very last lap and the last couple turns.
Well, so a couple things that I think went into it. So Larson starts 9th. That's important. That's important to our story here. Larson starts 9th, starts making his way up through the field, and you're just kind of looking back and you're like, man, if this thing stays green, he's going to have to, he's got to get going. And he was using the top a little bit. He was really running the bottom. He could hook 3 and 4 on the bottom better than I think anyone does. And he's so good at it. Where they get that left front tire up on the berm and they just kind of ride it coming off 4 and they get such a good run down the front stretch. We have that first caution and it doubles them back up. And you're like, okay, he's restarting 4th. He's going to probably get by Schuhart. They go green. And then just as he's getting off 2, he's past Schuhart. And then Macedo has the problem on the front stretch or something happens. And then they go single file. And I was like, if we didn't go single file, I think he would have won the race, even though it was still 10 laps to go or something. But I don't know about you, Kade, and we could talk about it here, but he didn't really waste time getting to second. But when he got to second, we saw mistakes out of Kyle Larson that we just haven't seen. And I think of 2 laps to go, he drilled the berm in turn 2 and just shot up the racetrack. And I think somewhere else he nailed the wall coming out of 2. And he didn't have enough time. And he even said it himself. He just made mistakes. I assume you're in the same sentiment that he probably would have gotten there. Rico got caught behind a lap car with like 3 to go, and that's what really closed him back in. Mistakes out of the 3-time Knoxville Nationals champion kind of helped Rico there.
Yeah, mistakes that we don't typically see. I think a lot of it was he just got impatient, and I have no idea why, because he was catching Rico in plenty of time to pass him. I think he was getting a little frustrated that he wasn't quite caught up to him yet, and then he started driving it a little bit harder, and a little bit harder was just too much on that surface last night. It looked like his trouble area was getting off turn 2, which even the last lap he didn't get off great, but he
ran behind him, didn't he? Followed him on the wall.
Yeah, and then didn't get off great. I don't know if he was still in some dirty air or what, but then he just sticks the bottom wide open, like. What the hell?
Well, it was like Davey Heskin on steroids is what I said to Matt. It was like, holy shit.
That's exactly what I told JJ last night too.
And Larson said the lap car was there. I couldn't try the Hail Mary. I'm like, that wasn't a Hail Mary? It's like, because I would have hated to see the Hail Mary slide because, man, Rico would have either had to lift or you knew Rico was going to pound it on the top. I was surprised. I was surprised Rico took the top because Rico said he knew somebody was coming. Like he said that in his Victory Lane interview. And Kade, you know it from leading. you can't see them. I mean, do you ever look at the big screen ever?
Oh, like, all the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can kind of tell, but I was kind of surprised Rico didn't go bottom in 3 and 4 just to chop it, because usually you see that happen. He keeps it wide open on 4, and then Larson barely doesn't get the run. And that kind of leads me into dirty air, Kade. We hear drivers talk about it all the time. Larson said dirty air killed him on the last lap, especially in 3 and 4. Rico was up top. Larson's on the bottom. Explain dirty air just a little bit, because you think it's dirt, man. What is that really going to have an impact on the car? But explain dirty air to a couple of those, because you see it. Car goes in behind another car. They go straight. Leader goes forward.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain. But basically, it's like you lose the nose wing off the car when you get up behind somebody. I don't really know what the answer is to fix that, but I feel like if we could get it even half as bad as it is right now, we could have a lot better racing. So I feel like hopefully they start making some changes to try to get the dirty air not as big of a factor as it is. But yeah, like especially the way Larson was doing that, where you're in your own air and then you get up behind him and you're traveling towards the fence anyway.
Yeah.
It just, like I said, it's like you have no nose wing, so you have no steering. So it pretty much just goes wherever it wants to.
It's almost like black ice in a way.
Yeah, kind of. Like
or
half that extreme, but kind of losing the front end.
Yeah.
What was your view, Josh, from the infield? I'm going to assume it was crazy in the final laps.
Oh yeah, it was awesome, man. Like I said, it really did it. I've seen Davey Heskin just up like the bottom of his car. Sometimes it felt like when he would just pound the bottom, and that's really what I was like. Yeah, Kyle's probably going to try to send it, with a slider or something like that, and he just looked like he didn't lift, and he stuck the bottom, and I was like, holy hell, he's going to pull him down the front stretch, and he almost did. And it made me think, like, we've had some great finishes. If you think back to a couple years ago, 360 Nationals with Brown and Reitzel, Kade, I know didn't end well, in the end for you, but you in Austin last year, that was a hell of a finish. Like, people say that there's no passing in sprint cars. Well, bullshit. Like, I'd go back and look at some of these finishes at Knoxville, and yeah.
Well, so, and I like your finish is one of my favorites, Kade, because Austin slid you in 3. You were already on the top, weren't you?
Yep. I did the same thing Rico did.
And then you cut it right back down, caught the moisture, and you got the runoff. So, I mean, that was the thing with Larson. Like, how did he get that run off 4? And you're like, engine power. I mean, that's what it is. It's just a little bit more engine power. You have it here. I mean, Rico and Larson, that's an awesome battle. You think about it, was it Larson's first year or second year that he won the Nationals? I think it was first year or second year. I can't remember. Remember, Rico was second, and he blew a tire. And that was it was under caution. And Rico was coming. I mean, he was going to be the man there. Rico finally wins an Outlaw race at Knoxville. He had won everything else there is to win at Knoxville, ACS, everything else. Your odds are set. I know we haven't even seen the June race, but Kyle Larson minus $1 million. You're not going to win money betting on Larson at the Nationals. How can you? I mean, he's impossible to beat right now. But Rico's right there. I mean, and I think his confidence continues to get better at Knoxville.
Yeah, it does for sure. And showing up and kicking Kyle's ass kind of solidifies his confidence going up. Yeah, it's gonna be fun to watch. Like you said, we don't even really need to see the June show for what we kind of can expect coming up.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool too. You've already talked about the two drivers. Like, you can make an argument. Definitely Larson's Hall of Fame, but the pedigree that Rico is putting together here. But they both have Hall of Fame crew chiefs behind them too. You got Rico versus Larson, Ricky Warner versus Paul Silva. Sprint car race is pretty damn cool, man. Like, got some really talented guys on the wrenches behind the wheel. It's a pleasure to watch. And
we've seen this recently. I mean, the prelim night last year, it was a flip script. I mean, Larson took it from Rico late, and now Rico holds off Larson. Rico's always, I think he's always said the Chili Bowl is like his favorite win that he's ever had. If he wins the Knoxville Nationals,
oh man,
it would burn down. I think we'd burn Marion County Fairgrounds down.
Absolutely. Just don't burn my house down.
But I mean, they've got it. Both of them have got it figured out. And it's scary. We'll talk about next week in a little bit, but Rico's coming back. He's slated to come back next week or this upcoming week and run again. And that just means that's an extra night that Larson's not getting. Not that he needs it. Larson won't be back in June. He pretty much said that last night. But Rico getting extra dates. I mean, that's big. And Paul Silva's got his book filled. He knows what he's going to do when it comes to nationals. Needs a good pill draw, and he's gotten lucky with pill draws the last couple seasons. But we got a good show, boys. I mean, that was just we left last night, and you're like, that couldn't have been better for an April show. Especially.
I was going to say, and it was in the middle of April. First race of the year in Knoxville.
You're walking out and you're like, it's 40 degrees outside. If you wouldn't have seen the race and you just looked outside, felt the weather, you're like, yeah, it's probably just one lane. Didn't have to worry about it. I put the track surface in here. We talked about it with Kaleb, but the Duncans nailed it. I mean, it was what you wanted to see for a racetrack like that. I got a little worried when one of the Outlaw guys was saying like, yeah, it usually rubbers up sometimes the first night of the year. And I'm like, first of all, I don't remember that. But it's like, second of all, I was like, I don't think the Duncans are going to let it rubber up here on night number 1. But yeah, it was an awesome show. I
tweeted it last night. They're the best in the business. Can't convince me otherwise.
Yeah, hands down.
I said Knoxville rocks. There's people saying that, my favorite argument is that people say half miles suck. But then there's always people that come in, they're like, we'll exclude Knoxville. Knoxville is the exception for half miles. And it, especially after how good I-55 was last week, the Friday night show, you're like, man, then you go to Knoxville and you just hope it's as good. It was as good. I mean, I hate when people say Knoxville doesn't put on good shows, because almost 80% of the time it's a great show.
You're just not watching if you think that's the case, in my opinion.
If you didn't like last night, you don't like sprint car racing. That's
right.
Pretty much, that's exactly what that was. So, all right. Well, that's our recap for the World of Outlaws. It was a fun night, fun weekend. Wish we could have gotten into. That's all I was thinking driving home. I'm like, man, I wish we could have gotten both in. I wish Kade could have ran. I mean, I wanted to see that.
I wish so too.
But they'll be back in June for 2 shows. That'd be fun to be able to have them not the first time. Now you're like, okay, see what you brought in your book in April. Logan Schuchart said it himself. He's like, we got a lot we got to improve on. And he finished top 5. So let's go on my trivia for the week. I had to think. I didn't have my trivia on top of me, so I had to console with Eric Arnold here on a couple things. So we're talking about Kyle Larson. Connor Wade asked Kyle Larson. I'm so glad he did. Him and I were talking about it in the pre-race. He asked Kyle Larson in the post-race interview if he would run the 360 Nationals, because NASCAR, the Cup Series, is in Iowa, in Newton, that weekend of the 360 Nationals. I-55 is going on that week, the Ironman. Kyle Larson has been so good at the Ironman. But he just asked him if he would run the 360 Nationals. Larson said he might. It's logistically the better chance, but obviously he loves the Ironman. So I ask you guys, how many drivers have ever won the 360 Nationals and the 410 Nationals in the same year?
I think this is a trick question, Blake.
I think it is too.
What? So you guys are saying none.
Yeah, I'm gonna say goose egg.
0.
It has never happened. I was gonna go trick question on the second week. We'll come back stronger next week. You do better question. But I was just curious myself, because boy, if anyone could pull it off, it's Kyle Larson. And
that's for sure.
I'd hate to see him. I mean, it'd be awesome if he came to the 360 show, but boy, if it's any indication of what he does to the 410 field, I mean,
he's already getting some boo birds. They might get a little bit louder if he.
I know he's run a couple 360s out in California. I think a couple at Silver Dollar here and there, but yeah, I know he's run the 360 Nationals. I'm pretty sure he's just never won it. So just add it to the resume, I guess.
I think, who are the closest ones? Is it Brown and?
It's got to be Brian. It has to be.
I feel like Shane Stewart was close.
Yeah, that'd be close. Where'd Reitzel finish when he won it a couple of years ago? I don't know if he really did well in the. Courtney was decent last year in the other, but
yeah.
I don't know. It'll be
interesting. Look that up.
It'll be interesting, but it's never happened. So
anyway, tricky. Only two shows in, you're trying to fool us already. I see.
Yeah, that's all right. We'll come back stronger next week. I gotta dig deep in the record books or something. All right, boys, let's talk about 2025. The regular season kicks off next week with, what's our sponsor next week? It is CraigFord.com season opener at the Knoxville Raceway. We have practice night on Friday, and then we race on Saturday, a stacked 410 field. We're going to go through our picks, if you will, for this season. Again, there's still a lot up in the air. Some guys might run full time, some guys might not. We'll talk about those as they go. And I think, guys, how we run it is we'll start out with pro sprints. Josh, you give yours, I'll give mine, Kade will give his, and we'll just kind of work our way up to 360 and whatnot. So, Josh, pro sprints, Mike Mayberry, the defending champion, coming back. Going to be a fun year. What do you got?
I think it's going to be a coin flip between him and Jay Kinder. They were the guys to beat last year. Came down to the last week. I do have a dark horse here, a guy that was really heating up at the end of the season. That's Rob Kubley. He looked very determined. I think that win is coming. I think he's going to get one, maybe two this year. But you got Mayberry and Kinder. They're both tied at 8 wins in their career at Knoxville in the pro sprints. That's 4th all time for both of them. And yeah, I think they kind of get a bad rap because they're only 305s, but they actually put on some pretty good races as well for a big track.
Yeah,
Kade put a whooping on them a few years ago, which was fun to watch. But
that Matt Allen Mayberry show, that's still stuck in my head when they got together coming to the show.
Yeah,
Here I was like, this is why pro sprints are great.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick one of my obvious. I feel like this is a pretty obvious pick for me. I'm going to pick Mayberry on that one. I'm just sitting here looking. I think my dark horse, I'm going to go with Chase Young. He kept it tight in 21 when I won the deal. He knows how to put a season together, obviously. Me and him were pretty far out from everybody else, and he kept me honest. That's for sure. So I'm going to use him as my dark horse, which I don't really think he's a dark horse. I mean, we know he can win races, and like I said, he can put a whole season together. So, yeah, it'd be cool to see him win it, just because I kind of grew up racing with him, go-karts and stuff. But I think, like you guys are saying, that the Mayberry-Kinder battle is just going to keep getting better.
That'd be an electric celebration if Chase Young won the championship.
Yeah.
And I remember when he won a couple of years ago, and I interviewed him, and he was out of breath. I mean, he was going crazy. The same as you guys, I think Jay Kinder, Mike Mayberry will go after it. I'm not going to pick a solidified champion just because I'm calling the races. I think everybody has a fair shot. I'm a big fan of everybody. Just getting that out of the way. I don't hate you if I don't pick you. I'm going to go Ryan Navratil as my dark horse. Won the last 2 races of the year last year. I think a lot of people forget that. Just because there's such a big break in between times for the Nationals, and then they raced that last week. Consistency, I think, will be the biggest thing for Ryan. Just got to put it all together. But the speed that they showed that last 2 weeks, I was very impressed with. And I think Jay Kinder, I mean, there's not a more humble guy. I mean, I love Jay Kinder. I hope he can get some sponsorship, man. I love the yellow car. And the KRCO is like his only sponsor. But yeah, that's really cool. I didn't have him on here, but Matthew Stelzer is reportedly back this year. Matthew's the all-time winningest driver in a pro sprint at the Knoxville Raceway. How does a year off do? That'll be interesting. He won 1 race the year before. He won the opener. But I wouldn't count out Stelzer. I think if they bring back that speed, I think he's going to be okay. I think it's just the question of you get a year off. What's a year off do to you? But I'm excited to have Matthew Stelzer back in the Pro Series.
For sure. I agree with that.
Yeah, he'll definitely make it interesting.
Yeah, he will. 360.
I'll go first, I guess. I didn't want to just sound like a homer and pick Kade. I obviously hope you do well, Kade, and can end up giving a great long speech at the banquet at the end of the year. However, I think it's going to be tough on you and the rest of the 360 field to unseat Jamie Ball. He was going back to you talking about consistency, Blake. That was the name of the game for him last year. And I think he's going to be a tough one to knock off there. I think the field in the 360 is going to be wide open also, which will be fun to watch. I think it's going to be a really, really fun, just fun class to watch every week. So dark horses is a couple guys. Tyler Gronendijk is one that really was turning heads there at the end of last year. He had a really good run. I think he was quick time in his prelim night at Nationals, the 360 Nationals. And he had the 3rd most top 5s behind Jamie and Clint Garner. So back to the consistency thing there. And then Ryan Giles, him and Matt Morrow being together for another year. I think back to what we talked about with JJ and Matt, just more comfortable with the car. And, he's tied for 10th in 360 wins all time with 10. And he had the tied for the most top 10s last year. And I think that, Ryan Giles is one that could maybe jump up and surprise people too.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I'll kind of piggyback off of that, which I didn't put this down. But yeah, I think Giles is a contender for the championship. I don't even think he's a dark horse. Last year, he had a couple bad nights where things didn't go his way. He ended up crashing a couple times. But if they clean those mistakes up, I think he's definitely got a shot to give Jamie a run for his money. But Jamie's obviously the top pick. The year he had last year was just impressive. Started off so good that he actually did have a DNF one night, and it didn't matter.
He was
it didn't matter.
Points ahead.
Yeah, it made no difference.
Easy to forget that, yeah.
Yeah, him and Jack got together. But yeah, if he gets off to that start again, it's going to be tough for all of us.
Yeah, I'm going to go with I again just kind of spreading them out. I think Clint Garner. I just don't see him going winless again. I just don't see it. I mean, he is one of the all-time winningest in a 360. I think Clint Garner gets back on top here. I think he has a legit great chance. He had a couple off nights last night, and I think that's really caught him off guard. Jamie Ball, I mean, why not? Defending champion. I think he's going to be fun. I went Terry McCarl as my dark horse. I think not in the 01, back in the 24 of his. They've had a couple gremlins when it comes to mechanical issues in that car a couple times, but Terry puts nights together. And I think the field is going to be a little bit more even this year. I just feel like it's going to be a little bit more put together. I think Terry, if he can make a run, I think he's got a chance. He was top 5 in points last year. Then a couple things happened, dropped him out. But I like Terry's chances here. And it's just, as being the last one talking about 360, it's just going to be a fun year. I mean, Thomas Mesereau is going to be racing with us. That's cool. I mean, that's awesome. And there were rumblings about Kaleb Johnson, and it's just cool. I think it's going to be a fun year for 360s. I just saw the post today about them starting to pull in money for the Knox Vegas shootout that they did last year. So that'll be cool. I think we'll get more money than we had last year. That was such a fun night. They spun the wheel. I mean, that was awesome. I love when they do that, and it looks like they're going to try to do it again here this summer. I guarantee they'll get more money raking in.
And I will die on the hill that the 360s on some nights are way more entertaining than the 410s too, and put on a better show. And people can rag on it a little bit, but the fields end up being a little closer unless Aaron Reitzel's in the field, but then have good racing, and it's just fun to watch, man. Sprint cars, 3 classes. I think it could be a crapshoot, and if Jamie, like you said, have a couple bad nights, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, like, our 360 feature is the first one every night, and usually, like, people would think that the track is not going to be like good for putting on a good show, and the races are still always great.
Yeah.
It's just kind of crazy to think about.
It's awesome. A lot of different winners. Nathan Mills won a race last year. It's just, you just have those nights where you're like, anything can happen. Alex Hill was close last year. Yeah. Obviously the track is different, it's a bottom dominant track sometimes, but any given night, I think it was right there. So really cool. 410.
So I caveat this with if Austin McCarl does show up for a majority of the races, I think that Austin is the clear guy to beat. I don't know, like you said, Blake, maybe he might make 3/4 or so. If you throw in some rainouts, which I hope don't happen, you never know how that falls. But my pick is Kerry Madsen. He is 11th all time in 410 wins, 27. I think the most winning Aussie at the track as well. And he's the 2005 champ. I don't know if Blake or Kade were alive yet, but I was there for when he won that.
What are you? Were you?
But the Madman, we already said it, when he's running well, damn, he's fun to watch. He's fun to listen to on the mic. It's really good when we have a Madsen up front. I think he will, another year, that's another guy, another year with that team, with him and Tony Vermeer being teamed back up. They won the championship together back in 05. So I think that'll be fun to watch those guys. And then the other dark horse is Carson McCarl, for all the reasons we already talked about with Carson. I would not be surprised if he got another win, if not more, this year with the way we've seen him in the weekly shows. I know the Outlaws are a different beast, probably not what he was looking for on Saturday, but that's 65 the best cars, in the country here. So those are my picks.
Yeah, and I just kind of made our picks assuming that Austin wasn't going to race. He's the obvious pick if he's here enough to even be in the point deal. But Carson was my pick. He had a great year last year. Watching him drive by his brother was pretty cool to watch. And I know I heard him on the podcast, the Drivers Project. Carson was talking about how they didn't talk until like 2:30 in the morning that night, and all Austin said was, "Good job, man."
That was a good one. Yeah.
So yeah, I look for him to have another big year, and if Austin's not here, he's an obvious pick to me. He put a good year together last year, and even did have some struggle nights, and still ended up in the points. We talked about him earlier. I think Tasker's going to be fun to watch too. He's got a really good shot if things go his way. I don't see why he couldn't win a couple races and be in contention.
Yeah, you guys went with mine. I mean, if Austin runs, Austin. Another one that I don't think he'll run, but there's a chance. I think if Emerson Axum runs, I think Emerson Axum could win it all. I truly do. I put him right there with Austin McCarl. His speed at the midway point of the summer and on, and even this past week at Knoxville, not bad. I mean, I'm really impressed with Emerson Axum, and I'd love to see him run for points this year because I think he could legit win it. It sounds like he's probably going to stick with the Outlaws just a little bit. Obviously not as a full-timer, but just kind of doing a true Outlaw schedule, if you will. Carson McCarl, same thing. I think Carson McCarl, it's set. I mean, if Austin doesn't run, I think Carson McCarl's got a really good shot to go after it, and I'd love to see him win it. I'm going to go JJ Hickle. Had a couple good runs last year. I think he's got a great chance. The 2M's fast. I mean, and last night was big. A lot of people were just waiting. They're like, okay, how's this car going to run? He goes out and makes the feature in the first night against a very stacked field. And when the 2M is doing well, Knoxville's a better place. It's just kind of how it is. I mean, we saw when Heskin made the Nationals, it was like the greatest thing in the world. So I'd love to see JJ Hickle as a dark horse here for the 410 championship. It'll be a great field. I mean, it might not be as big of a field, but it's a really good top 5-8 cars. I mean, I think it sets itself up well, and it's going to be a fun year. I think you're going to see a couple guys come in and out with good chances. Ryan Timms will come in, I think, a couple weeks and have really good runs in that 10 car. You already talked about Kerry and whatnot, so I think you'll have a lot of different winners this year in 410. I don't think you'll see the same guy win a lot. So
look out for Scott Boguski in that 78 car, new team. I
think, there's just, it's deep. I think there's a lot of guys that have a good chance, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun week. I'd say we could make picks in week 1, but we don't know who's going to show up. I think once the season kind of gets going, we might be able to do it. I'm picking Rico this week. I don't know about you guys, but Rico's coming back in a 410, so I think Rico will be a safe pick. But we're hoping for a good week. Thanks for hanging with us here. We went over an hour on our talk, but that's always good. We got a lot of good stuff to talk about. So coming up next will be our Kaleb Johnson interview, and Kaleb Johnson. Heck of a season, going to be racing for Dennis Gainey Racing this year, 360 Nationals winner. And Josh, I think, will send us right to that interview. Kaleb Johnson joins the show for our second week here on the Knoxville Nights podcast. Kaleb is the 2017 Race Saver Track Champion at the Jackson Motorplex, the 2020 360 Rookie of the Year at the Knoxville Raceway. He is the 2024 Cressman Sanitation 410 Outlaw Sprint Car Champion at the Huset Speedway. And he is a 2024 360 Nationals Prelim Night 1 winner. First for him and for Dennis Gainey Racing. Kaleb, welcome to the show. Glad you could make it here. It was we'll just start off right away with what's off everyone's mind here. The World of Outlaws were here this week at the Knoxville Raceway. You get with Dennis Gainey Racing here, start the beginning of the season. Probably not quite the night you were looking for, but still a decent night nonetheless. Walk us through opening week here at the Knoxville.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me on, guys. Opening weekend was a little tough. Obviously, you want to make the show against the best of the best, but that didn't work out in our favor. We qualified decent, kind of had a little little incident in the start of the heat race that kind of set me back, but had to start in the back of the B and made our way forward. Just wish we could have started a little further, I guess, to the front, but that's the way racing works, and just keep our head up and try again next week.
We'll go kind of around the circle here on questions. I'll let Josh start first. I think he's got a good first question to kind of settle us in here.
Yeah, just want to learn a little bit more about you, man. When did you start your full-size sprint car career, and what really got you into sprint car racing?
I started racing full-size sprint cars when I was 16. Actually raced for the Lux family out of Jackson, Minnesota. That's where my dad's side of the family is from. So did that for a year in the open 305 class, and then after that kind of just started my own deal. At the time, all we could really afford was Race Saver 305. So I did that for probably 3 or 4 years, and then kind of just slowly progressed into a 360, started racing at Knoxville weekly, and then as I got more sponsorship and more help throughout the years, just kind of, slowly worked my way into a 410, and now here we are. So, started racing go-karts when I was 5, so I've been doing it for quite some time. So,
You're to be an old man now. You're what, 28, I think you said? So
I'm 27.
You're
I'll be
gonna be
28 here in a few weeks. Yeah, getting old, man.
I feel you.
Kade, what do you got?
Mine's not really a question, but I know how hard it is to run that many laps of a feature around the bottom and not make any mistakes. Can you kind of explain to everybody else what that's like? I mean, I know it's terribly difficult at Knoxville, but you did it to perfection on that prelim night last year. Just kind of tell people what that's like.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's extremely tough. I think I want to say I started racing Knoxville in like 2020 or something like that, but it took me literally a year and a half just to figure it out. Patience is a virtue to run the bottom at Knoxville. A lot of brake, a lot of patience. I mean, it seems like it's always the faster way around, but it's always the toughest. So it just took time. I never gave up at it, and some nights it can be so technical because there's just nothing there, and you really have to put your left front on the berm and pretty much ride it all the way around. But I guess really patience is the main thing. That's kind of what has gotten me to be decent at it. I wouldn't say I'm good by any means, but it's just a lot of laps, a lot of just never giving up and just keeping at it.
If I could piggyback on that too, but for both of you guys, you kind of hear that they sometimes shape it differently. Does it change much from year to year that you guys notice?
You can go first, Kade.
It just kind of depends. Depends what they do to it. I think it was last year it was the year before last. We were doing the 305 deal, and there was one night we showed up with a 360, and I didn't realize they reshaped the berm. Well, I hit it with the left front, and it straight up just shoved me directly to the fence. So I was like, what the hell? And I was talking to my dad, and he's like, dude, they cut the berm a lot. And I'm like, well, why didn't you point that out before we started the night? But it just kind of depends. Like, sometimes they make it more of like a bowl. Sometimes it's like hitting a wall when you hit it. So that's really where the technicality comes. And then half the time the entries are so slick getting in there that you really got to wait on it. And then it's like once you get down to it, you can get back in the gas pretty hard. And it's like Kaleb was saying, it's a lot of laps around there, and it's really, really hard to do.
Yeah, I would agree. And I feel like in years past, almost like in the middle of 1 and 2, it creates like a little divot in the center. And if you don't hit it right, like you said, it'll wash you right towards the wall. So I think that's where a lot of patience comes in. And I feel like there's years where you can put both left side tires on the berm, and then there's some years where you can only put your left front on the berm. So I think the reshaping kind of it just depends on the year, honestly. So
talking about that 360 Nationals night, I mean, I doubt you thought your first win at Knoxville would come at the 360 Nationals, but your victory lane, like I always, whenever guys go to victory lane at Knoxville, I love seeing the expression when they get out of the car. Because some guys, you're just like, man, you're one at Knoxville, like celebrate just a little bit more. And you got out of the car, and it was almost like relief. You know, it was like you did it. You finally won it, and you were super excited. I was super excited for you and Dennis Gainey. Walk us through that night, because it really just all fell in your lap. The way everything worked out, it was a great looking race car. But just explain that night, because what a cool night it was.
Yeah, to start it off, I remember driving to the racetrack with Dennis that night just to go draw. And we knew, I mean, anybody that races at the Nationals, you know how important the draw is. So I remember walking back to the truck and he's like, "What'd you draw?" I'm like, 51. He's like, and I just remember thinking, like, if I mean, you can't control the draw. That's the one thing you can't control. So, I mean, we went out for hot laps. We felt pretty good. Went out late for qualifying. I think we were like 13th or 14th quick. I mean, the car was pretty stuck. I felt really good and didn't feel so good in the heat race, but luckily transferred through there. And yeah, honestly, nowadays I feel like luck kind of plays into a big part just of how your night goes. And luckily, some guys that qualified really well didn't make it through their heat race, and it just so happened where I started on the pole. So yeah, everything worked out. We had a really, really, really good race car, and I was able to just kind of stick it on the bottom for 20 or 25 laps. I don't even remember how long it was, but yeah, it was a huge relief. I remember taking the checkered flag and thinking, "Holy did I just do this?" It felt like it had been so long. Like I said, I started racing there in like 2020, so it had been like 4 years of just constantly trying, having some good runs here and there, and yeah, it just kind of all came together on one night, and yeah, it was probably one of the best nights of my life. Something I'll never forget for the rest of my life.
And we have 2/3 of the podium that night here too. Okay, you had a pretty decent run yourself.
Yeah.
You did parlay that into your best 360 nationals of your career too. You ended up finishing 9th on Saturday.
Yeah.
What did that do for your confidence? For the rest of the last year, and then kind of even coming into this year. I know that's 360 versus 410. But yeah, what did that weekend mean to you? And yeah, what's it look like going forward?
Honestly, it kind of, in a sense, it changed my whole life. Honestly, Dennis had kind of been trying to get me to just race his car at Knoxville for this coming year, and we did that and had a top 10 at the Nationals, and it kind of turned into, well, why don't we start racing full time together? So. Obviously, we did some racing after that. Had a decent run at Eagle, and then we went out east and got our butt kicked. But that's what happens when you go to new tracks and you race against the Outlaws. I really wasn't expecting to do good. I was more just kind of taking in the experience and just getting to race at different tracks. So yeah, that I would say that weekend, honestly, it really did change my life. Yeah, now I'm racing full time for a living and loving every second of it.
I know you're a working class guy. What's that like? Racing for a living.
Dude, it was weird. The first couple of weeks, I didn't really know what to do with myself, honestly. But as time went on, it got easier. It's a lot less stressful, honestly. Not saying working's bad, but put in 50-hour work weeks and then go work on race cars and get them ready to race 2 to 3 times a weekend. It gets to be a lot, and I know a lot of people do that, but that's just how racing goes. So I mean, just to kind of take that off my plate and just be able to focus on racing and driving and what I need to do to be the best race car driver has been good for me, I think. So hopefully it'll pay off in the long run.
Let's talk Huset's track champion here last year. You beat one of the best at Huset's, Mark Dobmeyer, to be able to get that done. It's not an easy track. I mean, we see it's getting more competitive every single year. You're starting to see a lot of different winners throughout the season. Josh, what was the average finish of about 5th last year, I think, for Kaleb. So
yeah, he's just outside top 5.
Night in and night out, back to back, a Saturday, Sunday. How were you able to find that consistency all season long? And we know you had been working hard. I mean, Huset's is, it's your home track necessarily, but talk about that championship season last year.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because when I started racing Huset's, I absolutely hated that place. And it was 10 miles from my house, and I just hated it. I mean, I grew up racing at bigger racetracks where it kind of teaches you how to be smooth and you got plenty of room to pass. So then as somebody that would work on your own stuff and have to pay for most of it, going to race there, it just kind of gave me an eerie feeling, I guess you could say. So it took me a few years to really get it figured out. Honestly, we had some really, really bad luck there the first couple of years. So I feel like we really didn't change much going into last year. We switched to Al Parker engines, which was huge for us. That was really the only thing we changed. Our cars were the same. Everything else was the same. I think just a different mindset for me going into the season was huge. Just getting rid of that hate for Husets, I think, was huge. So we had a pretty good season. Obviously, you always want to win a race, which I didn't do, unfortunately, but that's how it goes sometimes. So we had some really good runs and just were very consistent. And I think the biggest thing was just keeping my nose clean. Honestly, Houston's is so tight and it's so small, but I mean, shit happens so fast there. Honestly, there's times where you could do nothing wrong and you're going to be on the hook. So keeping my nose clean was honestly the most important thing, and not having any DNFs. So I think our worst finish was like 11th, and I remember after that night I was, excuse my language, but I was pissed off. It was kind of a goal of mine to be in the top 10 almost every night, and we were close to that, but it was just a lot of hard work from my guys and all of our sponsors and partners, and everybody just kind of supported us through all that bad luck throughout the years. And it's just a nice change, honestly.
To race a full season at that place with no DNFs is impressive.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, I don't know if I'll ever be able to do it again, but I at least can say I did it once. So
don't put that bad juju out there. So kind of touching on the Gainey stuff, you did mention how that kind of came together. Sounds like kind of around 360 Nationals, after 360 Nationals to do the full time. What does 2025 look like for you guys? Do you plan on doing double duty kind of like you did a little bit last year? Are you going to focus more on just 410 this year?
Yeah, I mean, we might pull a 360 out for a few races, but our main focus is 410s. So you'll mainly just see the 6K in the 410 class every week, and same with Husets. So yeah, 410s kind of is our main focus point, and just try and be the best we can each and every week. And I guess going back to your question a little bit, I actually started racing for him like beginning of June, I think it was last year. He just needed a fill-in driver for one night and asked me, and I said, sure, why not? And I think we did all right, finished like maybe 8th or 9th. And we're getting ready to bring the car back to his shop, and he's like, why don't you just race this the whole year? Bring it home, do whatever you want with it, and just bring it back and race. And I had to think about it for a while and make sure that some of my sponsors were okay with that. But it was I'm glad that he did that. It was a great decision for me, and it's been great ever since.
So speaking of Gainey, we did have a fan question on Twitter here, and I heard you rehearsing your response with Dennis last night. So what's it like having Gainey as a boss?
He's got a good heart. Him and Betty are great people, and I'm very thankful for the opportunity. Sometimes you can't judge Dennis based off of his Twitter account, but like I said, he's got a big heart, and as a race car driver, I couldn't ask for any more. Gives me everything that I need to try and succeed and win races. So an example of that is I'm a huge HRP wing guy, and over the winter I sat him down and was like, dude, we need to get on HRP wings. That's where I feel comfortable. And he said, sure, let's do it. So, just things like that. As a race car driver, you can't ask for much more. And they're great at giving me everything I need to succeed. So it's just now it's up to me.
How many chassis / cars does he actually own?
Ooh. 10 plus. We'll leave it at that. I don't know the exact number, but he's got plenty. So
I can't wait till he brings all 10. That'd be great. That'll be so fun. I can't wait to get all those
Don't
sponsors.
tempt him.
It's all
Don't
the same.
Lord help us all.
You brought up sponsors. You've had Fulkins Brothers Trucking with you for a while. Autzen Underground, I think of another. You've had a couple that have stuck with you here for a couple years. How did that relationship kind of grow? Did it start, in Sioux Falls where you were kind of getting off and going, and they've just kind of stuck with you ever since?
Yeah, I think just kind of racing around the Husets area, Jackson, and stuff like that. I think with my dad being the general manager at Huset Speedway, I think it has helped me get some of these sponsors. But I guess just through him, or just watching me race, I've just been able to get to know some really awesome people, and it's been a blast. They're more so friends than anything. I guess they're not even really sponsors to me. It's more so friendships, and just building that over the years is I think is important to me. So, yeah, just continuing that and just building my brand and reputation has been a lot of fun.
It's awesome.
What do you got, Kade?
Yeah, go ahead, Kade.
Like I said, I didn't make any
I see the
notes
wheels
on this.
spinning here.
Something I always get asked all the time. I'll ask it a little bit different way. A lot of people always ask, like, what is your 5-year plan in racing? Like, where do you want to be? I think 5 years is too far away, especially driving for somebody else. You know what I mean? It's kind of, you take it night by night and year by year. But we'll shorten it to like this year and next year. What are your goals? And like, what are some of the things you really want to accomplish with Dennis?
Yeah, I think you brought up a good point. I mean, when you race for somebody else, you never know what could happen. So I feel like I have a pretty good relationship with Dennis. So hopefully we can build on something here in the next couple of years. But I think just getting out and racing as much as possible is big for our team. He's kind of just been sticking around Knoxville the past couple of years, and I've been out traveling a little bit more too. But I think just getting as many laps and races as we can is probably the number one thing. Obviously, for me, I want to go back to back and try and win another Huset Championship. Obviously, that's a lot easier said than done, but I feel like we got the right pieces in place to try and do that. And then obviously, I know how hard it is to race at Knoxville, but I think at least for this season to try and maybe get a top 5 in points would be huge. And it's weird. I've always wanted to race for a living, and now I'm doing it. So I don't know. I think at some point I'd like to be on the Outlaw Tour. Obviously, there's very few guys that get the opportunity to do that. So that's always been kind of my, I guess you could call that a 5-year plan, but maybe a 2 or 3 year plan. I want to get out and race on the road. At least say I did it for 1 year. So I think those are kind of probably the 2 to 3 main things that for our 2 to 3 year plan that we're kind of looking at. So.
If you've said you've been out and traveled a little bit, you've been to a lot of racetracks. What's one track you haven't been to that you'd love to try and race at?
Well, one of them would have been Peevely, and I knocked that off the bucket list last weekend.
Well, so quickly before you go to that, how was, just being there and seeing it for the first time and being able to race it?
The place is badass. Probably some of the most fun I've ever had in a race car, and I got my butt kicked, like 100%. I was in this. I mean, the first night I was in the C main racing with Rico, who just won at Knoxville the other night. So it just shows how tough it is. But yeah, Peevely is a lot of fun. It was. I mean, the weekend we were there it kind of felt like you were racing a midget. It was almost like slide or die all the time. But it's wide and racy and banked, and yeah, I had so much fun. Even though I didn't get the chance to make the A main, I want to go back. It sucks that their next race is 360 Nationals weekend, but we'll let that time come and see what happens. But to answer your question, I really want to get out to California and race. I know I'd get my butt kicked out there because their driving style is nothing like mine, but I think it'd be really good for me just to get out there and just race some of those tracks. And yeah, I'm not used to Huset's can kind of sometimes be heavy cowboy up, but those tracks take it to another level. So I think that would just help my overall driving.
So you kind of touched on this a little bit. We had World of Outlaws rookie Garrett Williamson on last week, and we talked about how going to new tracks can be difficult for the first time, and especially with their format and stuff like that. You mentioned it earlier. You can go to a new place maybe and get your face kicked in a little bit by the best of the best. What is it like knowing that is definitely a possibility when you go to a new track? And what is the best way to not get beat down by that and still have the confidence to show up and try to learn from that experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think just nowadays racing is so tough because, I mean, almost everybody can go out and buy the same stuff. Everybody's so close. Everybody's like, we're all so even that like 1/10 and you're talking 12 to 15 spots in qualifying. So I think, yeah, just going to new places for me is always just been, it's easier for me to accept that. I know I'm probably going to get my butt kicked, but I'm more so looking at down the road, either the next 6 months or even 3 months or the next year, just knowing that it's going to make me better in the long run. So I think that's always been big for me. Like for last year, for example, we went to Williams Grove, and I mean, I wasn't even close. Like it was out of my league. But now knowing that, I mean, if I feel like if I went back there, I feel like I could do a little bit better. Just having that experience and just honestly confidence is a big thing. So I think when you go to these new tracks, especially against the Outlaws, it's tough. So yeah, for me, it's always just, like if you get your butt kicked, so what? There's always going to be more races. There's always more opportunities to try and get better. So that's just the way I've always looked at it.
When you bring up the confidence part, I think one of the coolest things is that the two tracks you race regularly host the two highest paying races in the country. I mean, and that's cool. So, is there that, little bit of confidence boost when it comes to the nationals or even the high bank nationals? I mean, especially the high bank nationals, track champion and whatnot, you feel more comfortable, but also are the expectations just a little bit higher for you personally?
Yeah, I think that's where it kind of makes it tough is, you want to do good just knowing that you have the laps and the experience at these places. But at the end of the day, a lot of it comes down to the first two laps after hot laps. So, yeah, it's always good. Like, for example, this weekend, it was really nice just to come back to a place I know and I've raced at. And even though I didn't make the A main, it still felt good just to get some more laps at Knoxville and just kind of see how we stacked up. So, yeah, the pressure might be on a little bit more, but it's also a little relieving. Just you kind of know what the track's going to do or what it's going to be like or where you need to be setup-wise. So, yeah, I guess it does maybe give me a little bit more confidence.
I got one more, Josh and Kade, before you guys can jump on, but he was talking about track surface. So unfortunately, one of our drivers couldn't even race this weekend. So I got to ask you about the track surface. A couple people were brought it up. David Gravel brought it up in his interview with the World of Outlaws in the pre-race. Austin McCarl brought it up. We haven't raced in April in a long time. And I'm sure, obviously, you haven't raced in April in a while at the Knoxville Raceway, if ever. Was the track different than what we see in June or July? Because the racing put on was phenomenal. It looked like a normal summer night show. Could you tell any difference in the track surface or how it was prepped a little bit on Saturday night?
Honestly, not a lot. I mean, I feel like the way the track kind of turned out last night Saturday night was kind of the way it does during the summer. Like usually it falls off midway through qualifying, and that's kind of what it did last night. And it still had a good bottom, and there was a nice top. Maybe the cushion probably wasn't as far around as it might get in June or July when it's warmer out, and then you got the sun beating down on it in turn 1 and 2. But honestly, for a April show for 50 degrees, I thought the track was absolutely phenomenal.
And I was happy for the Duncans because of Friday night, because boy, Twitter lit them up because of that water they put down on the track while it was misting. Now, granted, I think even a couple of people around were like, maybe shouldn't have done that. But I was so happy for him because Saturday night was just a really good surface. And I think the Duncans should be proud of what they did.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the internet it'll tear you down for absolutely no.
I know everything about track prep.
I was gonna say the Duncans do a phenomenal job and they know what they're doing. So I think best thing for them is just to not even look at that and just keep doing what they're doing.
I'd be stunned if Chris Duncan had Twitter.
Yeah,
they'll keep proving people wrong. Just give them time.
That's right. So to go back to Huset a little bit, we were just talking about the High Bank Nationals. What's it been like seeing everything come back and Todd putting a lot of money into Huset's and really building up a crown jewel event up there? It was really unfortunate to see what happened last year with the weather, but nobody can control that. Glad nobody was injured or anything. A bunch of damage to the track or the surrounding buildings and stuff. But what's it been like for you guys up north and seeing Huset's kind of coming back to life after some turmoil for a while?
Yeah, it's been great. Honestly, racing on Sunday nights for Huset's is awesome just because there's really nowhere else in the country that races. So it puts a huge spotlight on them, and it kind of allows people that have never been there to see all the improvements and everything that they've made over the last couple of years. And even with the flood, it really doesn't stop them from keep racing. And just to have one of the highest paying races in the country 4 blocks from my house is great, but they've got a lot of support from the Sioux Falls area and people around here. So people are definitely talking about it, and I think last year would have been a huge event if they would have got it in, but I think this year is going to be even bigger and better. So I think you're going to see a lot of even more race cars and probably even more people yet. So hopefully they can sell it out. That'd be sweet.
It's great, two big tracks like Knoxville and Huset's being able to work together, not schedule against each other like we see in other parts of the country. That doesn't really do anybody any good. So I'm glad that they can work that out. And
yeah, we're very fortunate.
Yeah, and if you've never been to Huset's, you need to get up there. That place is badass, and it puts on some badass racing.
I'm going this summer. First time.
I think
I'm going up to the High Bank Nationals this summer. I'm excited.
Same.
That place is cool.
Yeah.
Have you
did
raced
it with
there,
Garrett? Or go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna. Have you raced at Huset's yet?
I haven't raced there, but I went there with Chris Martin when my dad was helping him out, and yeah, you want to talk about jet planes in the gym? That's it. Especially the 410 stuff. That's crazy.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Don't forget the late model stocks. Those guys put on a hell of a show too.
They do. It's impressive.
That's awesome. I did it with Garrett last week. What do you got in the room behind you? I see one trophy behind you. What else you got back there? You got where's your Nationals trophy?
Yeah, so there's the Nationals trophy.
Nice.
Got the Huset's championship trophy, and then
That's dope.
Team of the Year, couple pictures. Got a bunch of sprint cars here.
Yeah.
Just some more pictures, banners, stuff like that. Actually, my grandpa was a huge supporter of mine. He collected diecast race cars, tractors. I mean, anything you name it. He had probably over 300 cases just like that in his house. So after he passed a couple years ago, he kind of let my dad and I have all this race car stuff. So I got to show it off a little bit. So.
That's cool.
Do you have any of yours? Has anybody made you a custom one of any of your cars?
Yeah, I actually got a couple here. Usually I make some for my sponsors every year, but I got 2 of them right here.
That's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
So is the purple a Vikings thing, or I've noticed your cars have been purple for quite a while, except for this year, but that's a little probably out of your control.
Yeah, I'm a huge purple lover, but I absolutely hate the Vikings. So I was a huge Billy Alley fan when growing up. So that's where I got the purple from. He was yellow purple. That's where I got the 22 from, and kept the purple pretty much my whole racing career. Switched to white about 3 or 4 years ago. But yeah, purple's always kind of been my color. It's something different. Not a lot of people have it. So yeah.
Am I making it up? Do you not have a Vikings logo or something on the helmet?
I do. So the helmet you saw, I've got in loving memory of one of my grandpas on one side who was a Twins and Vikings fan, and then my other grandpa on the other side. So we'll let it slide in that scenario, but anything else, I ain't cheering for the Vikings.
I love it.
Well, do we got anything else for our guests?
I don't know. It looks like you're sitting at maybe a sim rig. Are we going to see you tomorrow night? Well, I guess when this releases
tonight, when this drops.
Yeah, we got Blake's running an iRacing weekly Knoxville league. We're going to see Kaleb Johnson out on the track with us.
Yeah, you'll see me try. I don't know how good I'll be, but yeah, I'm sitting in my computer down here, so I got my iRacing set up in front of me, and I'll have to turn some laps tonight just to get ready for tomorrow.
What scheme are you running? Are you going to run just a custom one? What are you gonna ring? What are you gonna run?
I don't know. I've got a couple older ones that I had a couple people just make up for me. It was like a black and purple one, but I might have to switch it up. I'll have to come up with something different. So
you can always check on Trading Paints. They always have good ones. People make good ones. Got to get the one you're racing this year made.
I know a guy.
Yeah,
I know a guy. I could probably hook you up.
You'll have to hook me up with that guy.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Kaleb, we appreciate your time, man.
Yes.
Good luck this upcoming week here at the Knoxville Raceway, and once Huset gets going. Thanks for coming on, man. Second ever guest. You can say that. So that's awesome. We appreciate your time, man.
Yeah, thanks, Kaleb.
Appreciate you guys having me on, and I like what you guys are doing, and I'm always going to keep up with it. So it's cool. Not a lot of people are doing this stuff. So like I said, I appreciate what you guys are doing.
Thanks, man.
Thanks,
good luck the rest of the year.
Thanks.
So yeah, that was fun, guys, talking to Kaleb. Glad to have him on the show. Hopefully he has a good showing here at Knoxville the rest of this season with him and the Gainey team. As we talked about, though, up next is practice night. It's going to be on Friday the 25th. Hopefully, weather permitting, that it cooperates with us. But then, yeah, we have the CraigFord.com season opener on Saturday the 26th. Get your butts to Knoxville if you're close. If you can't make it, it will be live on Dirt Vision. You can listen to Tony B and our guy Blake on the call. Other than that, long show, but man, it's fun to talk sprint cars, and it was fun to talk about sprint car racing at Knoxville again. So thank you guys. It was a lot of cool stuff that I heard at the track and on socials, supporting us in the show. Really, really appreciate that. And thank you guys for doing it. If you like us, you can follow us on X or Twitter. I'm at Josh_Gerlach. Kade's at Kade Higday. Blake is at Blake_Walker8. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube or both. And follow at Knoxville Knights on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and at Knoxville Knights with no O on X. For these guys, we'll see you at the track and see you back here next Monday.